across beaches and choking rivers. Plastic pollution is a worldwide plague. The UN calls it an epidemic, and there's no question that it's impacting our health and ecosystems. While nations seek a global cure, we meet people on Eco India today who are implementing remedies on their own. Hello and welcome, I'm Sanuta Raghu. Plastic is one of the most practical materials on the planet. The problem is that it's not valued as a resource, and far too much of it ends up polluting the environment. This is particularly true of a type called multi-layer plastic. It's earned a reputation for being non-recyclable. But as our next report shows, where there's a will, there's a way.
Aparna Kange is working on a typical Indian handloom, but it is not silk thread for a sari that's on her spindle. She is weaving strips of plastic into fabric. She works at Ecokari, a social enterprise in Pune that trains women from disadvantaged backgrounds to upcycle single-use plastic.
Before I joined Ecokari, I had no idea that we could make things from plastic potato chip bags. I have also learned that they have to be cut in a certain way to be reused.
The waste comes from all over India. Workers segregate and wash it before cutting it into strips to handcraft fabric that is used for items like bags, cushion covers and planters. Since it was founded in 2020, the company's team of 25 has upcycled close to 2 million plastic bags. Ecokari works with a specific type of refuse, multi-layered plastic or MLP. In addition to plastic, MLP includes layers of other materials like paper and metal. That's earned it a reputation as an unrecyclable material.
Why MLPs are not being recycled is because there are 3 to 4 layers in plastic, and each and every layer has different melting points. So in the traditional way of recycling, they put it, melt it and make the granules out of it. But with this kind of plastic, you cannot do it because the aluminum foil and everything doesn't melt at the same point.
MLPs are widely used by manufacturers of ready-to-eat foods, toiletries and pharmaceutical products. They are lightweight, easy to transport and cheap to produce. In India, they account for some 50% of plastic pollution. Supriya Badakwad has been collecting plastic and other garbage in Pune since she was a child. Waste pickers in India have long faced economic exploitation and social stigma. In Pune, though, there is growing recognition of their contribution to waste management. In 2008, their union and the city teamed up with the grassroots organization Swachh Cooperative to build a network of 4,000 waste pickers. Most are women. They segregate waste for 2/3 of Pune's households. Swachh has also partnered with ITC, one of India's largest conglomerates, and developed a program to incentivize the collection of multi-layered plastic by buying this refuse directly from waste workers and channeling it into recycling.
The idea is that this is a material that previously brought no value to waste pickers and would end up polluting the city or end up in the landfill. Through this project, we are able to actually create a market value using support from the project to buy this kind of waste from waste pickers. In doing so, we are able to not only pick up the plastic that's causing a problem for waste management, but we're also able to pass on that benefit directly to the waste pickers of Pune city.
So far, the project has diverted around 1,000 metric tons of MLP away from landfills. That's more than 200 million packets of chips. Waste pickers' monthly earnings have increased too, now that they have buyers for MLP wrappers.
Now we can sell all the plastic wrappers and not just a selection. Wrappers from biscuits, chips, chutney, parcel packaging, everything.
This factory in Maharashtra says it's a myth that multi-layer plastics can't be recycled. The material accounts for 40% of the waste that has been processed here over the past 50 years.
एक्चुअली एमएलपी हर कोई नहीं कर पाता है कारण क्या है इसलिए एक बहुत कॉस्ट
There aren't a lot of people doing MLP processing because it is a costly and lengthy process. MLP waste reaches us after it has been compressed into bales. We break up the bales, grind the wrappers and then wash them. Then they are combined into a mass and put through the extrusion plant, where they are converted into granules.
जहाँ एक्सट्रूशन प्लांट बोलते हैं जिसे जहाँ पे ग्रैनुल्स के फॉर्म में बनाया जाता है उसका
Once the MLP is processed, it can be used to make not just fabric, but items like benches, dustbins, and even tiles. But MLP recycling is a labor-intensive process that also uses a lot of water and power. Most of the MLP waste that is collected still ends up in landfills or gets incinerated, which adds to the air pollution. India is still a long way from phasing out multi-layered plastic, but initiatives like Swatch and Ecokari are creating a path for positive change.
We are repurposing trash and turning it into something useful. Trash that might otherwise be eaten by cows and make them sick. It also means there is less rubbish lying around.
People have started treating us better. They know now that we work for Swatch, that we do a good job. We segregate waste and recycle it properly. It's like we have a new identity now. People see us differently.
Assigning value to multi-layer plastic refuse has helped improve the lives of waste pickers in Pune. And as handcraft weavers like Aparna Kange show, recycling MLP has the potential to benefit us all.
Over the past 2 decades, the amount of plastic produced in the world has more than doubled. The result? Nearly 300 million tons of plastic waste every year. The search is on for greener alternatives. Our reporter discovered 2 natural ingredients that could help curb our hunger for plastic.
We all know plastic is convenient, durable, and everywhere. And at the same time, plastic kills marine life, contributes to global warming, and poses health risks. But what if we could use all natural materials like mushrooms, seaweed, or wood to cure ourselves of our addiction to plastic? What are the alternatives out there, and why aren't they everywhere?
We started working with seaweed as an alternative material to try to basically develop a range of new solutions that are completely biodegradable, natural, and sometimes even edible.
Pierre Paslier is the co-founder of Notpla, a startup that uses seaweed to replace plastic packaging.
Seaweed was always a good candidate for us because it grows very fast. Some of the seaweed that we use can grow up to 1 meter per day. And in terms of end of life, it's been around for 100 million years. So nature has no problem dealing with it anywhere it ends up in the environment.
And that happens a lot with plastic. 40% of plastic produced is for packaging. In 2018, just 13.6% of plastic containers and packaging were recycled. To counter this, Notpla have developed little sachets for sauces or drinks made from algae, so you can eat them along with their contents. Even if they're not consumed and are thrown away, Notpla claims they will biodegrade in 4 to 6 weeks. To make these vanishing sachets, Notpla dries and grinds up brown seaweed. A special machine then turns the powder into a membrane that can be filled and finally sealed. The firm also makes a special coating for takeaway containers. Usually, they're coated with plastic to grease-proof them. But that makes them hard to recycle and also makes them non-biodegradable. Notpla's solution, however, is made from, you guessed it, seaweed, which means the boxes should compost in 29 days. A solution to a growing problem. seeing that a recent study found food containers to be among the 10 most common items polluting the sea. But seaweed is not the only promising material out there. Another rapidly growing substance, and a favorite of a little Italian plumber, the mushroom, or to be exact, mycelium. Mycelium are the roots of mushrooms that form an underground network called hyphae. If treated right, they can be turned into a foam that is a sustainable alternative to polystyrene, all natural and completely biodegradable. How on earth do you turn mushrooms into packaging material, you ask? Well, you put organic waste products like straw into a mold and mix them with mushroom spores. In the space of a week, the mycelium will feed on the waste and grow into the empty space. The resulting mycelium foam is then removed and dried to prevent the spores from growing further. It's water and flame resistant, lightweight, and actually stronger than traditional polystyrene. Jan Burby is the CEO of Scroll.in, a Dutch company that produces mycelium packaging.
Started 5 years ago, roughly, to help other small and medium companies reduce the environmental footprint of their packaging. And somewhere I found the term mushroom packaging, which brought me to Ecovative.
Jan's company is a licensee of Ecovative Design, the inventor of the material. One of the first companies to adopt mycelium packaging was hardware manufacturer Dell for selected shipments. Others looking to foster a green image, like Lush, have since jumped on the bandwagon, using it for a limited edition gift pack. The first drawback, though, is that it's way more expensive than polystyrene. Scroll.in didn't disclose any prices, but one study estimated the cost of mycelium could be around $3 per pound, compared to 4 cents for styrofoam. The second problem? It's hard to scale up production. The packaging grows in these containers for 5 days and takes up a lot of space while doing so. IKEA announced its use of mycelium packaging in 2020, only to abandon it a year later because of the lack of scalability on an industrial level.
It's certainly not yet at the level of styrofoam. And even if it would be possible to make it at the same cost, then you still need to scale up enormously, which just takes time to build all those factories.
Ecovative recently received a $60 million investment so they can scale up their production and potentially lower costs. The big question is whether it'll become cheap enough to truly compete with polystyrene on a large scale. There are alternatives to plastic out there, and yes, big brands are dipping their toe into the market, but prices are still high. And despite all the big brands cooperating, the scale is extremely small, raising the question whether they're going into the market for the right reasons. Because if big brands don't adopt more sustainable alternatives, this will continue to be a niche market only. To reduce our plastic use as much as possible, we need to create all natural, scalable alternatives for specific use cases.
Putting plastic waste to a new use is, of course, another way to stem the tide of garbage we're drowning in. In the Ghanaian capital, Accra, one entrepreneur has found something constructive to do with the recycled material and is helping homeowners build a new future brick by brick.
Ghana's first plastic house is an interesting sight. What looks like ordinary bricks is actually a mixture of sand and plastic waste. The bricks made from recycled material are stable and good insulators.
The bricks are designed in such a way that there is a groove or hole in between, which doesn't allow the heat from outside to get in and also maintain the temperature of the room.
Ghana's capital, Accra, is continuously expanding. Every year, about 50,000 more people come here. Affordable housing is increasingly scarce, forcing many people to live in substandard housing. Nima is Accra's largest slum. It has no indoor plumbing and no regulated garbage disposal. Waste and filth fill the canals, including huge amounts of plastic. This facility accepts waste. It says it employs over 300 people to collect trash in the area. Today, employees will sort through 3 sacks of plastic bags, bottles, and packaging. Depending on the quality of the plastic, the company pays the trash collectors up to 1 cedi per kilo of waste. That's equivalent to about 15 euro cents. Nelson Boateng used to be a plastic bag manufacturer himself. Then he changed his business model. Now he wants to help solve the plastic waste problem and combat the housing problem at the same time. He designed and built both this cleaning device and the machine that breaks down and melts the plastic. The bricks are made from old melted plastic mixed with sand. Under pressure and extreme heat, a paste is formed, from which the bricks will then be pressed. His facility can produce 25 bricks like this per hour. About 1/3 of each brick is recycled plastic.
So I'm so excited that I can use one problem, that's the plastic waste problem that is affecting the world, and then use that same problem to solve housing problem in Ghana.
And there's another benefit. Compared to concrete, plastic bricks are a climate-friendly building material. Cement production is responsible for about 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. For many Ghanaians, cement and steel buildings signify prosperity and success. But Nelson Boateng knows that affordable housing remains a major problem in Accra. His house made of plastic bricks is about 1/3 cheaper than a comparable concrete house. Some construction contractors see building with plastic bricks as a chance for people to have access to their own homes.
So the thing is, if this is supposed to come in now to help us reduce the cost of production or cost of building, then we should go for it now, so that at least any low-income person can get access to accommodation. So why do you have to wait? Because the plastic is already polluting the environment.
Their YouTube videos have helped spread the word about plastic bricks in Accra. They've received orders for 20 houses. With each dwelling requiring 3,000 plastic bricks, they have their work cut out for them.
The problem is we don't have enough equipment and space to operate to meet the customer demand. So we are still in the struggle stage to meet the customer demand, because people like the product because it's cheaper and the durability.
Nelson Boateng hopes that state and private sector collaboration will help him scale up production and play a bigger role in Ghana's recycling revolution.
The cream-colored sands of Kuta Beach on Bali helped turn the Indonesian island into a tourist magnet. But in recent years, visitors have arrived to find the shore awash in plastic. Local activists have taken the cleanup into their own hands and are tackling the problem at its source inland.
Bali is drowning in waste. Together with local residents, members of environmental protection organization Sungai Watch are dredging mountains of plastic out of the island's waterways. The initiative was launched by Frenchman Gary Ben-Shagib, who's lived on Bali for over 10 years. He's been active in environmental protection since then and set up Sungai Watch in 2019. Now he has 55 fellow campaigners as well as local helpers.
We started Make a Change 11 years ago to clean up our beaches on Bali, but very quickly saw that 90% of plastics in the ocean are coming from rivers and streams.
For wider waterways, the team used floating booms. Sungai Watch has installed 120 of them over the last 2 years throughout Bali. They've hauled almost 400,000 kilos of trash out of its rivers and streams in that time. Plastic that would otherwise have flowed out to the sea. Several NGOs, startups and similar initiatives are active throughout Indonesia. They are trying to compensate for the lack of functional waste management systems outside the country's big cities.
Rivers in Bali, unfortunately, have also become garbage dumps. There is no initiative on the island that is protecting them. So, that's where we saw a gap. If we want to stop plastic pollution in the ocean, we need to stop it in the rivers.
The river warriors, as they call themselves,
sort the plastic waste together with local helpers. Some of it can be sold, and they're also working on ways to recycle it.
So some of the, more long-term solutions that we're exploring is what if we could turn, a bottle like this, or let's say, even bottle caps, or straws, or some of the sachets that we're collecting, mie goreng, into actual solutions like a brick. And so that's long-term solution. We're still doing R&D to test out what is the potential, the best solution that exists.
They also catalogue the waste. Where does it come from? What does plastic trash consist of exactly? Over half of it originates with big name brands. First and foremost, Danone, followed by Wing Surya and Orang Tua. Other global corporations like Unilever and Coca-Cola join the top 10 of plastic waste producers here.
We're just starting some of the conversation with some of the bigger corporates that want to fund cleanups. And I think that if we're able to have a dialogue with some of the people that are wrapping the plastic, then we're able to make a lot more change and then really start a conversation about how to use better sustainable packaging in the first place.
After China, Indonesia is the second largest ocean polluter. That's putting pressure on the government to act, especially with tourism being one of the country's prime sources of foreign revenues. Leaders in Jakarta are pumping public money into an increasing number of these kinds of initiatives and small companies. And they want to have 70% of the country's trash properly processed by 2025. According to their website, Sungai Wat says it also wants to see every stream and river cleaned up by then. If residents, companies and the state work together, all of Indonesia could soon be as clean as it is here.
From flip-flops to sneakers, our footwear is filled with plastics. In the race to adopt greener practices, some brands have begun incorporating recycled materials such as marine plastic. An Indian student on a quest to produce a sustainable pair of sneakers found all he needed among the bags and bottles headed for the dumps in Delhi.
Akshay Bava is doing what he likes to do best, designing sneakers. But these are no ordinary trainers. They're made mainly from recycled plastic bags. It's a project that came about as part of his undergraduate degree.
Working on a lot of different design ideas, and recycling plastic bags was one of them, because I'd recently heard about the ban on plastic bags in India. But I found out that it's not really being enforced at all. So I thought that something needs to be done. You can't always rely on the government for your solutions.
So Bava contacted a waste disposal company near Delhi. Tons of trash arrive here, and the employees sort out the plastic bags. The next step is to clean the bags and cut them to size.
And then it's shipped out to our shoe factory in Jalandhar called Nitush Footwear. And they assemble the fabric and all the other components into the final shoe. Making the shoe itself is not very different from making a regular leather shoe.
Still, making the shoe out of plastic took some getting used to, especially since not only the shoes themselves are made from recycled material, the laces are also made from plastic bottles, and the soles from used erasers. The effort is now paying off worldwide.
Europe is definitely our biggest market. It is a market that's more evolved to such ideas. People are more willing to pay extra higher costs for a product that's more sustainable or more environmentally friendly.
His shoes cost $99. The first batch of 1,600 pairs is already almost sold out. He's currently working on a new design. Once again, the sneakers will be made entirely from recycled materials, which sets the shoes apart from their far better known rivals.
A lot of times brands are getting away with having about 10 to 20% recycled content in their fabrics, which is not a lot at all. And we're not doing that. We're doing 100% recycled fabric. So I think if we can do it, I'm sure other brands that are much bigger can do it for sure too.
Until then, Ashe Bava wishes to continue to lead by example.
It's a sobering fact that 91% of all plastic produced in the world has not been recycled. Our societies have been conditioned to using plastic, but little by little we can unlearn our habits of reaching for that plastic bag or a throwaway plastic cup or a takeout container. Every small action counts. I'll leave you with that thought and see you again next week. From our entire team in India and Germany, goodbye and thanks for watching.